Okay, so get ready for this. Today's deep dive, we're looking at a video script. And it's not just any video script, it's a script for a promo video for a podcast. And the podcast. Yeah, you guessed it, it's about business English. So we're basically going like behind the scenes of another podcast. Pretty meta, huh?
Definitely meta.
But, before you think, hold on, I don't even have a podcast. What am I doing here? I promise you there are some seriously valuable insights here, really, for anyone, I think, who wants to be a better communicator, especially at work.
Yeah, think of it like this. This script is a masterclass in persuasion,
Mm.
just distilled down to its purest form.
That's a great way to put it.
And one thing that really stood out to me is how it jumps right into the benefits, like right away, for the listener, that is.
Oh, you mean like how it promises to help you advance your career and communicate more confidently, that kind of thing?
Exactly. I mean, that's a pretty powerful hook, right? It's
Yeah.
like they're saying, hey, you want to get ahead in your career? Well, we've got the secret sauce.
It's true, it does have that kind of vibe. It's very direct. But it's not all just hype, is it? I mean, there's some real substance to it, especially when you look at how they target their audience.
Oh, absolutely. They're laser focused
Yeah.
on people who are specifically looking to improve their English, to help their careers.
Right. It's like they've identified their niche and they're going straight for it.
Exactly. That's the beauty of niche targeting, right?
Yeah.
It's much more effective. Imagine you were trying to sell snow shovels to everyone in the world.
Yeah, that would be pretty ridiculous.
It just wouldn't work, right? But if you focus on people who live in places where it actually snows, well, suddenly your message makes a lot more sense. It resonates.
Right, you're speaking directly to their needs and their experience. I guess it's the same with communication in general. Like, have you ever noticed that it's so much more persuasive when someone seems to be talking directly to you, to your specific needs?
Oh, for sure. It's like they're reading your mind.
Mm.
It makes you want to listen. And speaking of being specific, one thing that impressed me about this script was how they lay out the podcast's content. Things like emails, presentations, difficult conversations, vocabulary. They cover it all.
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive overview. And they manage to do it all without overwhelming you with, like, a ton of detail.
Right. It's what we call chunking, right? They break down these complex topics
Yeah.
into manageable, bite-sized pieces. Like, think of it like packing for a trip. If you just shove everything into your suitcase randomly, it's chaos, right? You can't find anything.
Oh, yeah. A complete mess. Been there, done that.
But if you, organize everything first, use packing cubes or whatever, well, then it's much more manageable. You can actually find what you need. And that's what this script does. It gives you this clear overview. Makes you actually want to unpack each of the topics and, explore further.
Makes sense. It definitely sets the stage. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting, I think. The script talks about visuals. They actually suggest using visuals, like imagine an email popping up on screen, for example. And they also suggest using real-world scenarios to make the learning more engaging and to help it, stick.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. That's the power of storytelling, right?
Mm.
I mean, think about the last time you were totally captivated by a book or a movie. It wasn't just because of the raw information, right?
Yeah, of course not. It's more than that.
It was the characters, right? The emotions, the story arc, that whole journey. This script caps into that. It makes these dry topics, things like, grammar and stuff, suddenly engaging. Like, imagine if you could bring a little bit of that storytelling magic to your next presentation at work. Just imagine how much more effective it would be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely use a little more of that in my life. And, while we're talking about making things engaging, one thing I noticed was the emphasis on accessibility. Like, the script really highlights how the podcast is available on all major platforms, and it ends with this super clear call to action, right? Subscribe now. I mean, they don't mess around.
Not at all. Very direct. And that's such a valuable lesson for any kind of communication, I think.
Yeah.
First, remove any barriers. Make it super easy for people to actually access whatever it is you're offering. And then be crystal clear about what you want them to do. It's like if you're asking a colleague for help with a project, you wouldn't just say, oh, hey, things are kind of tough right now.
No, that wouldn't be very effective.
No, you wouldn't. You'd say something like, hey, could you please help me with X by, this date? See the difference.
Oh, yeah. Huge difference, like night and day.
Okay, last thing, and then I'll let you get a word in edgewise.
But there's this production notes section in the script that I found really interesting. They talk about visuals, the music, the host's energy, even the ideal length for the video. I mean, who knew a podcast promo video script would get into that level of detail?
It's true. But it just highlights how important presentation is, really.
Mm.
Like every communication, whether it's spoken, written, or visual, it all benefits from that extra bit of care, from being crafted really well.
Yeah, it makes a difference. It's like the difference between, I don't know, a handwritten thank you note and a generic email, right?
Yeah.
They both convey information, but one feels so much more personal and thoughtful.
Exactly. And this script really makes you realize how much thought goes into crafting a message that's going to be persuasive, how to make it really resonate. It's not just about the words, it's about the entire package.
The whole experience. I like that.
And what's really fascinating is that these principles, they apply to way more than just podcasts. Really, they apply to any form of communication.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this. It's like a universal language of persuasion.
Exactly. So think about your own professional life. Like, how could paying attention to these details elevate your work? How could it take your communication to that next level?
I'm definitely seeing a lot of possibilities here. It's like we've been given this secret decoder ring for communication, and we can unlock like a whole new level of understanding.
Exactly. And the more we dive into this script, the more we're going to uncover about the art of persuasion. Because it really is an art. It's about understanding your audience, crafting a message that's truly compelling, and then delivering it in a way that resonates. And this script gives us a really good foundation for that.
Okay, so we've kind of established that this script, it's like a blueprint for how to be persuasive, how to communicate effectively. But how do we like actually apply these principles in our own lives? How do we take it from theory to practice?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to recognize these techniques when we see them, but it's another thing entirely to actually use them ourselves to make them work for us. Let's start with that benefit statement we were talking about. Think about a time when you were trying to convince a friend to, I don't know, watch a movie with you or maybe try a new restaurant. Did you just say, hey, let's do this? Or did you actually take a minute to highlight what was in it for them, to make it appealing?
Oh yeah, I totally do that. Like, hey, this movie has like the most amazing special effects, or this restaurant has the best tacos in town, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about appealing to what they care about, what's going to make them want to say yes. And when it comes to professional communication, it's the same principle, really. Whether you're pitching an idea to your boss or writing a marketing campaign or whatever, lead with the benefits. Figure out what problem you're solving for them. How's your proposal going to make their lives easier or better or,
Okay.
help them make more money?
Makes sense. It's like you're saying, hey, I get you, I understand your needs, and I've got something that can help.
Exactly. But then, of course, we can't forget about targeting, right?
Mhm.
Remember how we were talking about how crucial it is to actually know your audience? Like really know them inside and out.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Because a generic message, it's like shooting an arrow in the dark.
Yeah.
You're not really aiming at anything specific. But a targeted message, that's like aiming for a bullseye. You know exactly where you want that arrow to land. And to do that, you've got to think about the language you're using, the examples you give, even your tone of voice. All of it should be tailored to the specific needs and interests of your audience.
So what you're saying is no more one-size-fits-all emails or presentations. We need to tailor our communication, like make it custom-fied.
Precisely.
Mm.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't use the same language when you're talking to, say, a 5-year-old as you would when you're talking to a CEO, right?
Well, yeah, that would be a disaster.
It just wouldn't work. And it's the same principle for any kind of communication. The more you understand your audience, the better you'll be able to craft a message that really speaks to them, that connects on an emotional level and a logical level.
Okay, so we've got a clear benefit statement. We're laser focused on our audience. What's next? How do we actually make our message, memorable? How do we get it to stick?
Yes, the stickiness factor. That's where storytelling comes in. It's the secret weapon of persuasion. Because think about it, facts and figures, they can inform, sure. But stories have the power to transform. They create emotional connections, they spark our imaginations, they make information so much more memorable.
So instead of just like, listing off a bunch of facts and figures, we need to find a way to weave them into a story, right? Make it a compelling narrative.
Exactly. Imagine you're presenting a new product to some potential investors. Instead of just giving them a boring list of all the features, what if you told them a story about how this product actually solved a problem for a real customer? Paint a picture of their frustration, the journey they went on to try to find a solution, and then the moment they discovered your product and how it, changed everything for them.
Oh, wow, that's so much more engaging than a bullet point list. I mean, I can practically see their eyes glazing over just thinking about that, but a story, that's something people can connect with.
Exactly. It's like watching a movie versus reading a product manual.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to remember? And the cool thing is, stories don't have to be super long or complicated. Even a simple anecdote can make a huge difference. Think about, like, the last time a friend told you a funny story. You probably remember that way more vividly than, like, the last news article you read.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about making those human connections. Okay, but even the best story needs a clear call to action, right? That's where we tell our audience what we want them to do next.
Absolutely. You've got to close the loop. You've captured their attention. You've presented your case. Now it's time to give them a clear path forward, whether it's buying a product, signing up for a newsletter, or just giving you a call. Make it crystal clear what you want them to do, and make it easy for them to take that next step.
Okay, so we've got our clear benefit, our targeted message, our compelling story, our strong call to action. Anything else? Are we missing anything?
Well, we can't forget about the importance of presentation, can we? Remember, this script actually emphasizes things like visuals, the music, even the host's energy. All those seemingly small details that actually play a big role in how your message comes across.
Right. It's like it's the difference between, I don't know, a note that's just like scribbled on a scrap of paper and a letter that's beautifully written on like fancy stationery.
Exactly. They both get the information across, but one just feels so much more, thoughtful and intentional, like you actually put effort into it. And that matters.
So presentation is like the wrapping paper on a gift. It makes the whole experience more enjoyable.
Yeah, I like that analogy. And it shows that you care about the recipient.
And in this case, the recipient is our
Yeah,
audience. Like we're saying, hey, we value your time and attention, so we've put in the effort to make this message, worthy of you.
exactly. You're showing them respect.
Yeah.
And that respect shines through in every aspect of your communication, from the words you choose to, like you said, how you actually present them.
Okay, seriously, this is blowing my mind. Who knew we could learn so much about communication from, of all things, a video script for a business English podcast? It's like a master class in persuasion, like you said.
And the best part is that these principles, they apply to any form of communication, really. It doesn't matter if it's a podcast, a video script, or even just a casual conversation, or, a high-stakes presentation. The principles are the same.
So for our listeners who are maybe thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I actually put this into practice? Where do we even begin?
That's a great question. And I think a good place to start is just by taking a closer look at our own communication habits. Like, think about the emails you write, the presentations you give, the way you interact with your colleagues and clients.
Yeah, like ask yourself, am I clearly articulating the benefits? You know, am I tailoring my message to my audience? Am I using stories to make my points more memorable? Am I presenting my ideas in a way that's both clear and engaging?
Those are all excellent questions.
Mm.
And they're questions that we should all be asking ourselves, regardless of what we do for a living.
Because when it comes down to it, effective communication, it's a skill that benefits everyone in every aspect of life.
Yeah, it's like we've been given this amazing toolkit, and now it's our job to actually use it.
Right. But I think the biggest thing for me, the main takeaway is that, being a good communicator, it's not about being like some kind of smooth talker or master manipulator. It's really about genuinely connecting with people.
Yeah, you got it. It really is about understanding their needs, respecting their time, making sure your message is actually something they'll resonate with. And when you do that, it's really amazing how persuasive you can be without ever feeling, pushy or fake.
It's true. You know that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And when you put effort into your communication, it shows them that you actually do care about them and about what you're trying to say.
100%. That's what makes the difference. Think about a time when someone really listened to you, like they actually got your perspective
Hmm.
and they responded in a way that was thoughtful. Didn't that make you feel like valued,
Yeah.
respected?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like they were speaking directly to your soul. And I think that's what we should all be striving for in our own communication. No matter what it is, a casual conversation, a big presentation, whatever.
For sure. And here's a little something to think about. As you go about your day, pay attention to how other people are trying to persuade you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, whether it's a commercial you see or a speech or even just, a conversation with a friend, look for those things we've been talking about, the benefit statement, the targeted message, the engaging story, all that.
So it's like a game, like spot the techniques, see how they're being used.
Exactly. And by becoming more aware of these techniques, you'll not only become a more, how do you say it, a more discerning consumer of information, but you'll become a better communicator yourself.
Okay, so next time I'm writing an email, giving a presentation, even just talking to a coworker, I'm going to remember these lessons. And to think we learned all this from, a video script for a business English podcast. Pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. Proof that, a little bit of intentionality can go a long way.
Totally. Well, until next time, everyone, keep those communication skills sharp. And remember, think about how you can use these techniques to make your message stand out.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe you'll even inspire someone else to take their own deep dive into the world of communication. You never know where inspiration is going to strike.
That's the truth. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us. See you next time.